Sorry for the hitch that we experienced not long ago. As I was saying, diversity in an education setting or the learning setting includes the social status of the learner, the economic status of the learner, ethnicity, religion, gender, sexual orientation, ethnicity, and so on and so forth. All these things come to play when we want to discuss diversity in wherever we find ourselves. Again, diversity in a learning situation can be culturally informed or determined to meet the demands and expectations of a certain culture. So sometimes a particular culture will determine how they see diversity, not necessarily what the books are saying. So I being maybe a typical northerner coming from a typical village may have some norms and values that determines what we see as diversification. And your diversification from a different context might not be applicable in that context. So sometimes we don't go by what the book says, but what the culture influence our thoughts to say or to do. Furthermore, in the Ghanaian culture, not long ago, there was this Taram Magai, a Rastafarian, who was almost denied entry into an institution because of the way and manner he left his hair. The hair that he left, we thought as Ghanaians, every bushy hair is a bad boy or a bad girl. The same way, women who put anklets are tagged as gangaries. Is because our culture has defined that, no. But that can be sometimes disturbing. They should be accepted. It could be that the person is just using it for life and not necessarily their thoughts are in line with what they have worn. And God being so good, the guy came out to be one of the best students in Achimota. He had all A's in the recently released YC results. So whenever we find ourselves in the midst of individuals with different way of doing things, we have to factor where they are coming from and how they think, and not necessarily impose our way of diversity onto them. The Rastafari is a culture on their own, and that is how they see themselves to be. We too, we are a culture on our own, and we see our brothers and sisters who are Rastafari as people who are bad or wicked or who may be engaged in social canker. And not every Rastafari is like that. In fact, I have a professor called Professor Bolchi. He's a Rastafari, very intelligent man at the University of Cape Coast. Very intelligent man. So not every Rastafari is bad as we could imagine those days. Now, we can have a different view about those individuals. So it should be noted that diversity is about giving equal opportunities to every individual, regardless of how the person look or regardless of how the person acts in a society. If you don't want to give equal opportunity, it may go against the person's rights and liberty, and you can be taken on, which nearly happened to Achimota. It was court that directed them to make sure the guy is maintaining the school and studying like his own colleagues. Remember, it can be sometimes stigmatizing. When you label and you label wrongly, it goes against the learner. So why must we label whilst we have been given the chance not to? We teach you all these things because when you go out there, you may find yourself in the midst of people who are different from you, so that you can value them, cherish them, accord them the necessary respect that they need. If you read all these things and go and do otherwise, then in quote, I can't tell the kind of teacher or the kind of an instructor you could be in your setting. And again, increasing diversity among learners and education personnel coming from different cultures and about demand for learning environment that value diversity. So if the environment was a bit not conducive or accommodating for them, we need to develop it in a way that it will accommodate each and every diversity or each and every individual that look different from us. Furthermore, when we increase diversity, It helped us a lot in several instances. It's because of this diversity that allowed teacher Kojo to always talk, try to correct the wrongs in GS, but he became a target of the superiors. What happened to him? His appointment was terminated, even after seeking their consent for whatever that he did. Now he's a social commentator and he can talk all that he wants to. We live in a system that looks unfair when it comes to those who tell the truth. A few corrupt individuals will gang up against you just because you have seen their anus, or you have seen what they are doing that does not conform with what society even says. So what do we do as a group? What do we do as to be counselors? What do we do as an instructor? So it is worthy to note that when we discuss about multiculturalism in wherever that we find ourselves, it is very dynamic and keep changing. So when things change, you don't think it should remain the way it is. In fact, the issue of Teacher Kojo became so daunting and disheartening that I got angry, but I didn't have the power to talk. For your own group, not your own boss that you voted for could tell you that if you're not ready for your teaching, you should resign, as if he was an employer. In quote, he was stupid. Someone who never thought, someone who never think of becoming a leader, but when he was pushed, he had it and he could speak. Just trash. But you allowed him. How many of you can challenge the status quo, including me, when things are not going right? Because you think about, if I say and they sack me, what would I do? That is where I say we have an unjust educational system. We have an unjust society which we find ourselves. So the teacher or the instructor who try to always come in between the learner and the environment in whatever activity that he does for them to benefit also come with diversity. The person also comes with diversity and not in isolation. So we are never the same, and we can never and ever be the same. I aspire to be like my boss, my supervisor, Professor Bakari Yusuf Dramano, but I can never and ever be like him. He is tall, I'm less tall. He's giant, I'm less giant. He speaks faster, I speak faster, but his is different from mine. He's knowledgeable than I do. He has wisdom, and I don't have it. It doesn't mean I'm just a tabula rasa. Every teacher or instructor brings to the classroom diversity, even their physical appearances. We have some people who dress sharply to class, not because they don't know how to dress. It could be that that is what they have. It could be that that's the culture that nurtured them to dress the way they are dressing. So if you don't understand at that very moment, you need to get closer and appreciate them in whatever they do. Again, how you look, how you speak, and how you act upon opinions of the role of academics. And again, and the extent to which these differ from one physical environment, one cultural environment, one intellectual background of your learner will have a profound effect on you as an instructor. Your thinking, your thoughts, the way you see the children coming from different areas could influence the way and manner you act towards them. So you need to be aware of this diversity in the classroom if you want your instruction to be perfect or the learning environment to be perfect. If you don't recognize diversity in whatever that you do, you are doomed as an instructor at this material age. So when you are preparing for whatever action, you must factor in diversity. Diversify your situation for each and every individual to benefit. Have we wondered why we have now a course at the colleges called differentiated planning and assessment? It means you should plan your lesson in a way that every individual, regardless of where they are coming from, can benefit from it. So when we are doing assessment as well, we try to factor that in. That is why Jacob in my class, when I teach, I give him the room to record in playback. When I'm doing exam, I've never asked him to come and sit in and write with those who see. I take him to the resource center so that everything will be brailled for him to write it there. So I'm considering diversity. Again, there are several instances I tell you, if you think where you said you can't hear or you can't listen well, come in front. I'm trying to diversify my class for everyone to benefit. The majority of us want the back because of what? Issues known to yourselves and not myself. So the instructor or the teacher might identify their own attitudes. And these attitudes are pivotal in their lives and the lives of their learners. In fact, if your attitude is not accurate, it doesn't mean you are stupid. It doesn't mean you are an non-entity. It depends on where you are coming from, or it's a result of where you were nurtured. So if you find yourself in a new environment that do not condone your attitude, you try to modify it to go in synchronization with it. So instructors try to ask themselves the following questions. Or we should try to ask ourselves the following questions. A situation whereby you saw that students were not the same. Again, what was your reaction? Were you the focus of attention or others? How did that affect how you reacted? Your very first day you went to class and you lamped. Excuse me to say, you just bomb your students. Unknowingly, you flatulate. It could be that you ate some beans and then before the class. So as you enter there, you try to control the system. Yeah, the system say nature will say proceed. Then you allow and everywhere boom. How would you react? You have made yourself a bit unique at that very moment and different eyes will be looking at you. Those who may not understand the situation you find yourself may say, you don't respect yourself because you are flatulated in the midst of people whom you should respect. And again, there are several instances whereby you identify that things are not going right in your class or your learning environment. What did you do? How did you do it? How did that particular thing affected you and your learners? You ask yourself these rhetorical questions. Once you think they have consequence, these questions have consequence on you, it means you have to always plan and plan very well, ginger yourself towards any class that you attend, any learning situation that you find yourself, so that the best of the learning situation can be realized. As you can see, what are the messages that you learn about various minorities or majorities when you were a child? At first, when we were growing, what things did you hear about a particular tribe that were not in concert with what you do as a community? You can think about it and recall whatever that you do. Once you are able to know what you did today is not right, it means you are factored in learner diversity. Learner diversity. There are many instances whereby a teacher diversity can go against the learning situation aside the learner diversity. How do your memories of difference affect your living today? How do they affect your teaching or instruction? So we should be in the know or aware of the comfort level they have in discussing this topic before they enter the learning environment. Sometimes we have back situations or olden day situations that we don't even want to think about. But the moment you think those things might come along the line, you need to discuss and then iron out of your mind before you move into your learning environment. It is important to understand how you feel about these issues and what you will say in situations where some may not understand that particular context that you found yourself earlier. So you look for probable explanations for whatever that you have experienced so that you not be caught off guard. All these are part and parcel of the teacher diversity. If diversity becomes a topic of discussion in the class, learners will expect the teacher to be able to explain their perspective. Please don't fall foul to any side. Be highly objective on situations. If they are discussing issue of diversity in the class there, they are arguing here and there, The onus lies on you as a teacher to calm nerves. And you don't calm nerves by supporting a group. You try to neutralize the situation by giving an idea that will quench all the factions for your learning situation to continue. So they try to have a thought of a formulation that will clarify your perspective while leaving enough room for your learner's perspective in the discussion. That is why it's very, very important, even in normal learning situations. You teach it, the learner tells you that he went to learn this. Never rubbish the learner's idea. Consider the learner's idea as one of the key areas that you have not tackled. So when you get enough time, you read about it more, get to know more, and come and help them understand or appreciate situation. So you may look like you belong to a minority or to a majority, even if you do not, if you are not able to articulate your position. Either way, your learners will initially perceive this to the exclusion. If your own diverse experiences and intentions, background, of your own diverse experiences and intentions, background, until they get to know you better. So you can see the dancing teacher also there. At first, even we thought he was getting mad. The student also say, teacher Nessa. But today, there are those who even dance more than their teacher because they've now come to understand him that that's the way he does his teaching and learning. So trying to appreciate, embrace, and accommodate diversity is an important part of the instructional process. It allows every person to be included in the instructional process. It is only through teaching for equity that teachers can ensure that all experiences and ways of being are treated equally and justly. So when we are able to teach and add every individual's perspective to our teaching and learning, that gives us the room to include them and give us the nod or the honors to make sure they are part and parcel of the process. The teacher diversity issues are many. There are many. So many teachers of today want to diversify their teaching and learning situation, and they try to improvise and bring in new things relating to diversity so that every learner, assuming the child that is a bit Down syndromic, found herself in the class. These people are very hilarious. They are very entertaining. And you don't even sing in the class. You don't play in the class. How would a person be engaged? You are forced to what? Let them dance, engage in an activity and exercise. That tells you the fact that the learner is also being added to the situation. So despite this, the hormone indicates that many teachers or instructors do not address relevant topics and indicate that such learning was minimal in their educational preparation. Sometimes we find ourselves in a dilemma or dilemma. We are unable to address issues of diversity because even when we were being trained to become teachers, they never taught a diversified way of doing things. And it happened. Many at times, people are posted to community to go and work. They say, I can't work in the village. It's because they weren't taught that. They think the villagers are no human beings, but they are humans like we are, more prettier, more healthier than we are in town. They eat good food, we eat junky. Today, all those things are minimizing. So training is very, very important. You may not be given a topic or a plan or a lesson situation to teach, but you think it's very, very important, you must engage it in order to appreciate diversity. And when it is not part and parcel of what you are asked to do and you do it, we call it hidden curriculum. Hidden curriculum. It is very important, just that it wasn't captured in the situation you find yourself. So you do justice to it for your learners to appreciate it. So instructors need to learn about and appreciate the different cultures that children come from. They need to think about how to establish a fairer society that includes every individual or bring on board the diverse people that come together for a particular learning process. So they need to know how these things can affect if they don't factor them in their learning situations. If you, the teacher, is biased, what happens? If you side with a particular group and leave the other, what happens? It is surprising to know that I vibe with every individual in my class because I'm trying to exhibit diversity. Just that because of my disciplined nature, most students fear to get closer, but I'm the jovial type and I can make you like all heart out. There's no way any individual in my class is being rebuked for doing things that are not in line. I only caution, and each and every individual can attest to that. It means I'm understanding and I'm applying what diversity means in the teaching and learning environment because I'm a teacher. So what principles underpins equity for all learners? You need to begin by assessing all learners to know what they possess and what you can do to help them. Strive to learn as much as possible about the groups other than your own as a teacher or as an instructor. Those that you are engaging, know more about them. And for your group, I know you are a group of people who like class and try to engage yourself in learning, except when maybe this semester you have a change of attitude. So you need to also understand that those who are less privileged, which we term as marginalized, have the right to define themselves the way they want. The minority in the system need to be known the way they want. That is why UW is so diversified in a way that every church group has a place for worship. Because they want to be known in that, and nothing can prevent them to be in that particular position. Recognize that learning about other groups may cause you to question some of your own assumptions or propositions. If you are able to appreciate individual differences, diversify people in the environment, it will even let you be convicted that there are some things that you did which were wrong, then you change your narrative and move on. But if these things are not factored, it goes against you, the teacher, the learning situation, and the learner that you engage. So it does help you to show interest and try to let you appreciate and acknowledge that you do not know anything or everything. You can be a man of all knowledge. You can be a paragon of all knowledge. Yes, you may know some, but not all. But once you are able to know that diversity is there, that is where you are able to understand that you can be best for everything. But if you have lack of diversity, that is why you think you lack. So you should be worried. No, it shouldn't move you. Diversity will let you understand that you can know everything. So whenever your student quiz you, ask you questions that you have never chanced on, feel free, tell them, I've not learned it, but I'll learn and come and we meet. Simple as that. Also recognize that equality does not mean sameness. When we are saying equality, it doesn't mean that we are the same. It's about what? Trying to provide for each and every individual what they want and what they can use to be who they want to be. So if you have a child of 3 and the child needs food to grow, and you have a son of 20 years, you also need food to grow. You don't expect to give the same quantity of food that you give to 20 years to the 3 years. It's not done. That is not equality. Equality about what? Providing opportunities for them to also thrive and become who they want to be. Equality can never and ever mean sameness. So fairness does not also mean treating all students exactly in the same manner, but they tell us that recognizing and striving to meet the distinctive needs of every learner. Remember, every learner has a particular need. Our needs are not the same. So teachers try to make sure our needs are met individually. They ask you, they try to what? Probe from you and get to know what they can do to help you as a learner. We have learner diversity, the learner differences. Culture-wise, they are different. You can see the way the white girl is staring at the Islam or the Muslim girl. We don't know what exactly she's smiling at. It could be the hijab, it could be the looks, it could be the lips, and whatsoever that they were doing. So it happens, even between students, some cajole others, some tease others because of an evident difference that they find in them. So learners from different cultures differ in the way and manner they do their things. The learners from different cultures even speak differently. You can take the word, the letter R. It's so dominant in the lips of Muslims and Northerners. And the letter L, so dominant in the lips of the Ashantis. Why? Sometimes they say one Northerners are speaking English. They speak good English, but then they are very heavy. Yes, that is the culture they are coming from. The environment gives the way they're supposed to talk. It doesn't mean they don't know. It all depends on where they are coming from. So we can find these things in the learning environment, and when they are not checked, it can go against every learner that we find ourselves in or within. For learners of any age, gender, ethnicity, language, and religion, you, the teacher's attitude and beliefs of that particular culture has a toll on them. So you need to factor in all these things to make sure the best is offered for your learners. If those are not offered, it goes against your learning process. And who is the one to take the heat? You, because your learners might not get what they're supposed to get. So learning needs, which comprise both the essential learning tools and the learning content required by human beings to be able to survive, develop their full potentials or capacities to live and work in a dignified way, to improve upon their quality of life, and to make decisions that are informed and lead them to grow are what we are thinking about when it comes to learners. In fact, the learning needs has a gap between what the learner can do now and what the learner can only do. We have something called learner needs. Learning needs is the gap between the learner's current knowledge and the skills, and the level of knowledge or the skill required to perform a task or a set of tasks. So what the learner has now and the information there, or what the knowledge the learner possesses now and the skill that they need or they require for them to do something and do it better is what we term as the gap or the learning needs. So the knowledge, what they have now is inadequate, but what do they need for them to succeed in something is the learner needs. So once you are able to identify, yeah, they know this, but they need this one before they can get this, then it's a learner needs. It's just like you can't just do post-diploma just like that. Before you are knowledgeable, you could have done certificate course to be knowledgeable. Yeah, we appreciate it. But for you to enroll at the level 300 of our program, you need to have a diploma. So you getting a diploma before enrolling becomes a learner need, because it is what we require for you to possess before we engage you. So learner need being made simple using your own program. So the actual needs differ, as do the methods employed to meet those needs. The scope of learning needs and how they should be met vary based on who the person is, which culture does it occur, or what change has occurred over time. So learner needs are not the same. One's individuals are not the same. So have that in mind. The learner needs can be categorized as either perceived or real. So when learner needs are perceived, it means it's about our attitudes and competencies that a learner is expected to learn. So we perceive, we expect, we anticipate to have, but the real is the actual, what they possess, the ones that have been decided through the direction of a syllabus or school or an institution. That is a real learner needs. As we said earlier, the domains are equally coming here. They are equally coming here, which we have discussed already. So these things will be subdivided in our next meeting, or I will leave my learners to equally go and do it. Okay, let me give that one as an assignment, individual assignment that will be submitted in our next meeting. Failure to do so means such a student is going to be affected. Better still, we can leave it the way they are. When we meet, we will discuss it so that each and every individual will have a fair share of it. When we meet, we are going to delve much into the domains. We are going to delve much into the domains that we discussed earlier. We are going to delve much into it. So at this moment, I say each of us should have a wonderful moment. Please get hold of the slide, read it, understand as we meet to engage in our next interaction. Bye-bye.